Now, everybody, that I'm back, it's time to stop jerking around and teasing you. Let me get to my page first, and we're going to just start making some functions. I was thinking of doing something else, but that something else requires us to kind of learn something or have me show you something that I don't think we really need to worry about at this point. So instead, let's just make some functions. So we're going to do simplistic functions, and as you've seen, we've used all sorts of functions: number format, float val, functions that can turn a string. Let's see, what's text place, for instance. Well, that wouldn't be a good idea because we have no space in text place. But we could do something along the lines of, like strip. We did strip slashes, HTML special characters. We can do something with arrays where we can separate arrays or make arrays out of lines of strings that are separated by spaces, whatever, and make each word. There are so many different functions that we can use already. It's kind of difficult to really consider reasons to make new functions, but it is a practice that people should get involved in. Now, I'm just letting you know, I have done a lot of freelance web developing myself, scratch coding, and never used functions. And it's a stupid idea because you really want to make life a lot easier for you. And especially if you're looking to get like a job or something like that in web development, you really need to find ways to code less, because techies are obsessed with saving keystrokes for whatever reason. Even though sometimes there'll be functions or whatever that would take up as many lines as just doing it freehand, it's still something that they're really, really intolerant of, having too many lines of code. So when it comes to functions, what I suggest in terms of making a function like a date or something like that is only make functions if you're going to reuse that functionality a few times. So, like, for instance, we have this date here, we have this here where we did a number format and float val, whatever. Well, you can make a function that will do both of those by just entering the function name and then putting in what you want to do both of those, or the strip slashes, HTML special characters. Now, you would have to identify the function early in the page. And if you have several functions you want to integrate, I would suggest putting like an includes a functions.php and then putting your functions in there and then includes functions.php, so you can just reference them. That would be something I would suggest, or you could just put them in the page. But like, for instance, if we were to do, let's see, if we were to do this HTML special characters strip slashes, if we wanted to make that like one function, we'll call it clean. What you would do then is you would just make your own function. You'd say function clean. All right, actually, I'm going to put a PHP first. You'd say function clean, open parameter, open parentheses and everything, and then you would get your brackets in here. Now, there was something else I used to use. It was HTML special characters and HTML entities. I think it was. Was it HTML entities? Yeah, entities. And what HTML entities does is HTML entities, you can like, and you see like end quotes and whatever, it changes certain HTML entities into specific like ASCII code. It saves you from any kind of injunctions, more or less. But you could say something like, clean, and then you would put in whatever you wanted to do, and it wouldn't have to be just putting in functions. Like, it wouldn't have to just be saying like, HTML special characters, and then putting that into HTML entities, and then putting that into strip slashes. And then, with entities, we would have to put in another parameter, which would be like end quotes, like comma end quotes, or something like that. Like, it wouldn't have to just be this, but this is something that you can do. And then what you would say is, you have what you're putting in here, but you need to sort of give the function that you're creating an argument or a parameter so that it knows what to do this clean with. Now you could just do open-ended functions that say like you can say like function add. Well, let's not do it. Let's add numbers or add numbers, and you could put nothing in there, and you could just say return 5 plus 7, right? So when you have a function, what you typically want to do is you typically want to return something. You don't want to just, send out some random thing because it's going to give you an error message. We would just do this, 5 plus 7, right? And we were to go here and we were to declare that we're using the add function. Here, let's get rid of this. And let's go, PHP, let's go echo add numbers. I mean, it might not give us a problem because we don't really need to, but, if you see, there's nothing there because it's not, it doesn't, what does that mean? Return what? Like, this is supposed to be before the form, and you don't see anything. So if you just say 5, what does that mean? What are you doing with 5 plus 7? You got to tell it to return 5 plus 7. And then 12 should pop up. And there it is. So when you say return, what you're telling the function to do is you're telling it to send something out. And then we can echo. And again, if we don't put echo add and we just put add numbers, it's not going to do anything because it's going to return 12. But when you say return 12 or return whatever, what you're saying is you're more or less saying to this function, right now when you say return 12, what you're saying is this function is worth the number 12. That's what it is. It's worth the number 12. But that doesn't mean anything to PHP unless you say, hey, print it out. And now we know that it's worth number 12. But if you wanted to do something a little bit more dynamic with that, like if you were to say something like, you wanted to say, but I want to multiply that to something else, what you can then do, as we did with the JavaScript I showed you before, is you can give it what's called an argument. And an argument shows up like a variable, and you can say A. And that represents, we'll say times A, that represents whatever you put in this. So in this, we can give it the number 13. And now we're going to echo 13 times 12, and we get 96. And then you could just keep changing this number now, and you could just keep going like 18 or whatever. And it just keeps going because now we know we're going to return our argument, which is the A, which that's kind of like a nameplate. It's taking, it's sort of representing what we're going to put in there. See that, like this is how we declare the function in the word function. We give it a name, and then we open the parent or the brackets to tell it what to do with that function. Like what does this function do? It does this. So now we can put another argument in. We can put B, and we can say times A, and we can put that in parentheses. And then we could say divided by B. And now, if we were to go here, we can put 18, comma, 12. And at this point, it's going to multiply those numbers, add them together, whatever, and then it's going to divide it, and we get this. Well, we don't want to have all these decimal points. We want it to round off. So we can do something else with this function. Let me just make sure, parse int PHP. Let me just make sure that. Int val, right? Okay. Now what about rounding off? Round up PHP. Seal. Okay. So just got to remind myself. So now we can say, well, we don't want it to show all these numbers and stuff. So we can say int val, put this in parentheses, and now when we put those two numbers together, it's going to turn it into an integer of 10. But we also want it to have a ceiling. We also want it to round up. So we'll say CO in parentheses, all this. And now you're seeing how, like with this, we're saving ourselves some keystrokes because now that was without the ceiling was point. But let's put in numbers that would act. Let me think, because it was 10.199. Let's do 11. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But like, you know, but now it's getting the highest number. Code rounds the value up, right? So yeah, rounds different. But now we are like combining all these functions. But you know, maybe you're not looking. And like I said, with this, with clean, we could put in there. We could say, you know, word, and then we'll just put in here word. I used to use HTML entities all the time. I'm just hoping that that's right. And now from now on, instead of doing all of this, where is it? Instead of doing all of this, we should be able to just go clean and clean. And we'll leave that alone. No, we'll do that too. We'll go clean. And at this point, it should do all of that strip slashing, HTML entities, special characters, and then whatever. It should do all that for us when we say clean this. Please clean one. Now that we know that we got it's actually 2.3. Oh, yeah, because I didn't upload a file. My fault. Well, then don't enter anything in there. Actually, wait, I don't need that. I can just delete. Okay, so let's put a file in there. Let's say clean this. Please clean. We'll give it a price of and we'll upload a file of this. Now let's give it another one. Let's do this. And there you have it. Now, let me see. I cleaned too much because it didn't even post anything. So obviously I didn't do this right. Let me go with my HTML entities. Just double check. Okay, let's see. Where did I put that? Now, where did I put my badge? Oh, that duck's got it. No, that's true. That should be good. In quotes. That's only if you would put quotes in, though, but that doesn't matter. Let me just make sure I put that in right. So wait, HTML entities. Let's get HTML entities out of here. Let's just do it the way we've been doing it. Okay. And now it should be okay. Let's try that again. Let me delete this. Let's put clean this. Please clean. I'll get my channel pick on my gaming channel back. It's still not. Oh, you know why? Because we don't have to. No, that's fine. Well, at least I know that works. Did I put in? At least I know how to do HTML entities again. But. Why is that not? Well, I can look through all that. But anyway, like I was saying, like you could do, if you want to save, like, you know, if you wanted to save any kind of keystrokes, whatever, and you could put another one in here. You could put, like, C. And then you can return that plus, or we'll do like this, C. Oh wait, let me concatenate a space like that, so that it knows it's just, we're going to multiply this, and then we're going to put a word in there. And let me get rid of this. We're going to have to do HTML, special character, and strip slashes. Too many parentheses. And another one. Okay. That, so I don't get any complaints. Okay, yeah, I'm getting to that. Yeah, thank you. But there you go. We got an error message because we didn't give it the right information. So where are you? So then we could go like this, and we can say Sacker. Oh no, I'm sorry. We could just say in quotes Sacker. And then at that point, we get 11 in Sacker. And we could do that. But what also happens a lot of times, if you'll see, is you'll see them reference in here something like, you know, let me think. What can I put? It would be like they would say like add word, and they would put in there, you know, C, and or you can go. You would see something like this. I'm sorry. You would see something like this, and there would be like add word, and you know it'll call another function C. We'll get rid of this. And it would call, not add word, add word. And then down here afterwards you would say add word. And you would say word. And then you would go, you know, return, or, yeah, let's get rid of that. Let's just say add word. And you would do like return Sacker. And you'd be calling a function, as you can see there, like you can call a function within a function that you then identify later on. Now, like I said, you wouldn't just do like return. You could do other things with functions. You can make functions do whatever you want them to do. You don't need to just use other functions and return. You could do a whole, you know, multiplication table here, and you could say something like, you know, A equals int val A plus B, and then from there you can go A equals A plus 6, and then from there you can say return A, and concatenate add word, and then we go here, int val, God, we go here and you get 35, you know, like, so you can do things like that. You could just continue to, you know, to add other, you know, we could do add word, add number, no, add floats, and then the add floats would be return 1.99. And then you have that. Now you can also do something like this where you call for C, and you put C as an argument here. So you have the 3 arguments in this one because that argument references one here, which we then call floater. And floater could be, you know, another semblance of calculations. Floater or end float equals floater float val. Let's make sure that's a float. Is that what it was? No, it's float val. Yeah, I'm right. I'm right as always. Equals floater times 3.14, and then end float equals float val end float plus 2.00, and then return end float. And now, if we were to go back here, and we were to give this its third argument of 2, we now have the final calculations of what we just put as 2. If you do the calculation, see 2 times, I mean, we could do it right now. Hold on. Because I've got a calculator on my computer. So we can do 2, I said 2. No, wait, what did I say? 2, yeah, okay. 2 times, I just did 3.14 because it reminds me, what the fuck? Reminds me of pi. 3.14 plus 2, and that's what you have. So you could do, again, we're just doing simple numbers and letters and everything. I'm just introducing you to these functions because what we're about to do is we're about to embark on, now again, this could be as far as you go. You can just say, hey, this could spark something and go, you know what I want to do? I want to do something like add words. And again, you could say another argument D, even though it's out of alphabetical order, and you can go D, and then in here you can say D, and then it would be like return D, and then that, space, make sure you have your spaces where they're supposed to be. And then this would be flac, comma, and flag sacker. You know, you could just keep doing stuff like this. I gotta figure out why this didn't work. But anyway. But you could just keep doing stuff like this. Like I said, you can make a clean function. You can make, like a lot of people, they do functions which are like function select all, and then they would put in their return value, or their return, argument of, all, and then in there they would say, they would do the whole thing that we've done before, selecting equals con, prepare, select all from, and then you can kind of just go all order by, or just that, and then you could, selecting. I mean, you'd have to include the connection file, execute, and then just return selecting. Fetch all. And then you would have like the selection of all the different things from the table. Like people would do stuff like that. Like there are a million things you can do with functions, but what we're about to do is we're about to embark on a journey that involves something that's called object-oriented programming. This is just a taste of what we're about to really get into, and I will be back in a sec.